Howdy. Um, Today we're going to be talking about our primer, Intro to Linux, and I'm Sile Werthak, a graduate assistant here at HPRC. HPRC falls under the Division of Research, and we have supercomputing resources here that help in accelerating said research for Texas A&M University, as well as external users. Throughout the year, we offer quite a few primers and short courses, and for this spring, this is very specifically the primer where we will be doing, as I said before, Intro to Linux. This is going to be a hands-on session, and the demonstration will be done through the Open On Demand portal. I'll explain how to access all of that in shortly. We also have a pretty great team of HPRC staff and help desk members on the call right now. So if you run into any issues, message them in the chat and we will work to help you resolve them. So getting into it, um, the HPRC group here offers high performance computing clusters in the form of 5 different clusters: ACES, Faster, Grace, Launch, and Vital. In order to access Faster and Grace, you need to have an HPRC account, and this is for A&M students and staff. So uh, hope for today's demonstration, we're going to be using Grace. So hopefully everyone here is affiliated with A&M and has already done the HPRC account application process. Um, could I get a show of hands in the, or like a thumbs up if people have done this? Cool. Seeing a lot of thumbs up, so that's good. So if you see below right here, this is the link to our knowledge base. So once you start actually using our clusters properly, this is where we store quite a bit of our just like general knowledge and information. I still check it constantly, um, so it'll definitely be useful in the future for you. So before we properly get into things, I just want to say you are absolutely not allowed to share your password or your account in general. So this is prohibited not only by A&M, but by Texas law. It's illegal. So please remember to never share your password or account. So we will be using the web portal to access our cluster. And you can do that by going to this link here, hprc.tamu.edu. If someone in the channel can post this link in the chat, that'll be great. And I'll also show you how to do that myself. Um, so from here, all you have to do is I'm at hprc.tamu.edu. You go to menu, portal, and then specifically we'll be going to the Grace portal right here. Once you're there, you'll have to log in with your TAMU credentials. I'm going to mine in. And as always, it's going to prompt you to do the duo. So do that as well. And once it loads, you should be seeing a screen like this. This is the Open On Demand portal for Grace. So from there, we want to go and hover above clusters and select the Grace shell access, which would start in browser Linux terminal on Grace. So which is very convenient, a very easy way of accessing the server just from the like online without having to do anything especially fancy. So let's do that now. So I go back to the portal, clusters, Grace shell access. Clicking it should open. So sometimes it just automatically logs you in, like it did here. Other times you'll just have to input your same thing, your Temu password and do the Duo authentication again, and it'll let you through. As you can see, you'll be logged in with whatever your net ID is. Mine is my name, Swerthuk, and then it'll give you the name of your machine. So it'll be hopefully Grace and then like some number after it. So that's one way to log into the cluster, and there's a few other ways, but I'm not gonna really get into them right now. They're a bit more advanced, and this is good enough for us right now. So now that we are in um, the actual terminal, we're going to get into the main part of the primer today, which is the Linux commands. So I'm also going to be doing all of these commands alongside you um, in the terminal, and I really encourage everyone to do them with me as we go through this. Um, that's kind of the whole point of this primer. So the first command we're going to be talking about today is this pwd, or print word directory. It essentially just tells you where you are in the cluster, uh, and then this ls command tells you what is in the location where you're at. If you're not quite following, that's fine. It'll probably be better once I actually start showing you. So right now, here's the basic uh, starting point. Everyone is going to start uh, in their home directory. And if I do pwd, that's going to show me, yes, I am indeed in my home and then my netid directory. Um, and then this only shows me where I am. It doesn't show me any relevant information of what's in here. That is what ls is for. If I type in ls and hit enter, then that shows all of the various things that I have in my directory at this moment. So unless you've already used Grace before, you likely will not have anything here. This is just stuff that I have gotten over time through my job here. Uh, what exactly does navigating through Linux look like? Uh, so Linux has a directory structure, which is it's essentially the same as if you have a bunch of files in your, documents folder on your computer. Like I have my home file here. I can put more, or my home folder here. I can put more folders into it, and so on and so forth. Really infinitely. And all that's going to do is uh, add a slash and the name of whatever new folder you are looking at, and that'll be the new address essentially. Um, so for the scripts here, since it's in Chris, which is in home, the address will be home Chris scripts. So let's move on to some other very common commands. Make directory, as the name implies, is to create a folder um, of the name of whatever name you put after the make directory command. CD is how you navigate through through Linux, and uh, if you put CD my directory, you're essentially jumping into whatever name you put there. You're essentially double clicking on it. However, in order to go back a step, uh, escape out of whatever folder you're in, you have to do cd dot dot. And then in order to remove an empty directory, it is make directory just rm instead of mk, and then the name of the directory again. So let's try doing these commands together. I'm going back to my terminal. I am typing in make directory my directory, click enter. Nothing shows up. That's a good thing. That means it executed without a problem. If it had shown some information here, that would mean there had been an error and it's the terminal is informing that. So now that I did this, we can check if it is actually there with ls again. And now you can see the my directory now exists where it hadn't before. Now, if I want to double click or go into my directory, we have to do cd my directory, and we are now in it. Let's make sure we are with pwd. And as we can see, home, my net ID, and the name of the directory, my directory. So we're in it. Awesome. But now we don't want to be in it because this was just a basic test. So I want to exit out of it. cd ... enter again, and we do pwd. We can see we left it. Since this was just a temporary directory I created, it's kind of useless to me, so I want to remove it now. So remove directory and then the name. A pretty useful thing when it comes to terminals like this is that instead of having to like type out my directory every time, if there's really only one option, like if I type in my, there's nothing else that starts with my in the home in my home directory. So if I press tab, it auto completes into the what it guesses is the correct thing that I'm typing. Very useful whenever you get longer names, and I use it constantly. And what I explained before. So there's two different ways of pointing to a directory in a different location. The absolute path always points to the same location, regardless of where you are in the system. It's essentially like if I am in a house and I want to look at the next house over, I start from like Google Street View and then go all the way down until I reach that house. Whereas the other option of a relative path is I start in the house I'm in. I know the house that I want to get to is right next to me, so I just walk the 10 feet that way. I keep it relative to me. So, for example, if I am in the project directory home Chris project, the relative path to that is going back one step to Chris, and then going into docs and into README. Whereas the absolute path would be starting all the way back. It starts just from home and then goes through Chris, docs, README. So let's try doing this together to better understand it. So back in the terminal, I'm going to create, so I'm going to create a directory I call projects. Make directory project. My bad. It already exists for me, but if you do make directory projects, you will create said directory, cd into it, and we're now in the project directory. I want to create another directory before that, though, before we go further there. So make directory docs. And then, again, I already have it. cd into it. And make another directory inside that one, because let's call it read_me. So if I go back one step, which means I'm in my home directory again, we can see that, or ls, we can see we have a new projects directory and we have a docs. I want to go into projects. And now I'm in this projects directory, and let's say I want to look inside the read_me folder. But I don't want to go back a step, go into it, look at it that way. I just want to do it from the location I'm currently at. So in this example, I'm going to be using the relative or the absolute path. So ls, start from home, put in my net ID. As you can see, I tried doing tab here, but there's multiple different directories that start with sb. So it doesn't know exactly which one to choose here. So I have to provide a bit, and it just listed all of them out as like a, hey, which one do you want? So in this case, I'm going to actually type out my full name, another slash, and docs. So now if I do this, I can see my read_me folder. That was doing it with absolute path. If I wanted to do it with relative path, I know that, what is it? I need to go back one step from project, go down into one step into docs, and into readme. So let's try doing that. So ls, going back one step, as I said before, is ... So we go back one step, slash. Let's say in this situation, I forgot what directory I'm trying to get to. I just completely blanked out. If I press tab here, it lists out, okay, this is quite a few, but it lists out all the directories that are in here. So you can like search through it and find which one you specifically want to look at. Like I see all of these. I remember, okay, I want to be going into the docs folder or directory. So I can type in docs slash, I can type read_me. And there's nothing in that folder, so it does nothing, but if I had just done docs, read me. So now these are further very common commands that we use to do things like display files or write content inside of a file. So as it says here, cat writes file content to the standard output, which usually just means your terminal. So right here, it can mean different places if you change it, but for our purposes, just your screen. Echo displays a text string on the standard output again, the screen. Touch creates a new empty file. Nano either creates a new file or it's how you edit pre-existing files. And then RM removes it. So let's try doing some of these commands together. So the first command we'll try is echo. So echo hello world. Pause it again. Click enter. It prints it to the standard output, the screen. So we get hello world again. If I put anything else here, it print that out instead. Next, let's try creating a new file. So touch test.txt. Click enter. Again, nothing appeared, but that's a good thing because that means no errors occurred. Now, we created this file. If we do ls, we can see that test.txt exists in the project directory. But what if I want to edit it? That's where nano comes in. Nano test.txt. Now we are in the test.txt. Essentially, we double clicked it. Now we can edit it. So I can put anything here. And these are all the different options you can essentially do. The up arrow just means control. So if I want to exit, it's control X. And it's saying here, the word is save modified buffer. So it's, do you want to save this or not? I do want to save this. So I'm going to, we're going to click Y for yes. And then the name we already set, test.txt, completely fine. Just click enter. Now we save this info into test.txt, but how can we see it? That's where cat comes in. It prints whatever is in test.txt to the screen. So we type it in, click enter, we get, I can put anything here. Perfect. So now I'm in, quite a few file folders in deep now, or at least one. And if, say I was in 5, 10 folders deep, sometimes that can happen if you're working on bigger projects. And I want to jump all the way back to home without having to do like cd ... over and over again. Very easy way to do that. All you have to do is do cd $home. And if you click it, pwd brings us all the way back to the start, just a singular command. Pretty cool. So if you, let's say you want to go back and look through the history of what you've previously done, all the commands you did, we have a command for that, just called history. In my case, if I type in the history command, it outputs over 1,000 things because I've used the servers quite a bit. Probably it'll be less for your case, but usually, like, I don't need to see what I did 500 commands ago. I just need to see pretty recently. So if you type in history line, I don't actually know what the proper term for this is, space tail, it will only print the past 10 commands. And if I wanted to search for a specific command, like I know I want to look at the ls commands that I did previously, I can type in history line grep is like lets me search for whatever I click here. So let's try that. So history line grep and then ls. Then it gives me all the ls commands that I've done. So Linux commands are pretty powerful. They have quite a few options beyond just the standard basic what you type. If you do dash dash, you can put in essentially options or like modifiers to the command. If putting dash dash, you have to type out the full option name. So like dash dash odd would show all files, including hidden ones. But putting a single dash allows you to abbreviate it. So this dash A is the same as dash dash all just abbreviated. And dash L is for showing file details, or showing file details like the size of the file, the name, and so on. These smaller abbreviations you can also combine into a single dash. So ls dash al does the same thing as ls dash a dash l. So let's try doing this. So typing in regular ls shows me all of these files. Again, you guys shouldn't have anything really here. But if I do ls dash all, suddenly there's quite a few files that are normally hidden, uh, denoted by the period before the file or folder name. Now I am able to see all of them. Well, most. It's just showing me the last few because there's so many. But if I do ls, if we do ls dash a dash l, it's giving me things like this is how many bytes I believe uh, this particular thing is taking up, when it was last modified, who last modified it. Pretty useful stuff. And again, ls dash la or al. I don't think it matters, but it outputs the same thing. But here I did dash al. Here a bit longer, but it produces the same output.
We have a question in the chat. What's
Okay.
the difference between minus dash L and dash AL?
Okay, so AL is two commands combined into one. It's the dash A command and the dash L command combined into one piece of text. Dash L is specifically to show file details. Dash A is a shorter version of this all command, which shows all the hidden files. And if you do dash AL, it's doing both of those things at once. It's both showing all the hidden files and listing all of the files. Does that make sense, Mohammed? Yes, I can also explain that. So uh, these are read-write permissions, but we're going to get into those a bit later so that I didn't mention them. This is the these are the last edited and the location last edited, I believe. The number of the size of the file last edited, the time last edited, and the actual name of the file. I don't recall what this means. If one of the other staff know, please shout it out. So this is to, even I don't remember all of the different ways to modify a command. So if you do man short for manual, and then type in the command name, it will output all of the different ways you can modify it. I would do this. I like admit, but however, every time I've recently tried it, it's completely slowed down everything, and I've had to restart. So I'm just gonna let you know that it exists, but I will not be attempting it here at this moment. So, depending on your terminal, you've probably been seeing a bunch of different colors as you navigate. So in Linux, all the files and directories are color coded dependent on their attributes. So like this turquoise, a symbolic link is like it's pointing to a different file, essentially saying like, if I go into this file, actually look into this file instead. So if I am in here, actually look here instead. Green is an executable, so it's like something you can run. Red is compressed, so like zip files. Purple on the image. Blue is the directories, and white are text files. So one important thing to note is that these colors aren't universal. So it totally depends on your terminal. The colors might be different for different people. And now this is getting back into the executable um, information that I kind of glossed over right here. So you can use the chmod command to set specific permissions to a directory or file. Essentially, like saying who can either edit, look at, or execute this particular file or this particular group of files directly. So there's three different classifications. There is you, that's the user, so that's you. The G is group, which is any bigger like uh user groups that you're part of. Like I am part of the HPRC group on the server because I'm part of the staff. Um, and then other O is everyone else. Vivenza. So you can figure out the colors just by it's a bit of a trial and error process, but like if I create what is clearly a text file using the nano dot test.txt and it turns green, um, you'll know that that's a text file. It's relatively intuitive. Like it'll take a bit of getting used to, but you should quickly start noting what colors mean what. So back to the chmod. So there's two different uh, methods of representing permission. Octal and symbolic, we'll get into that. But um, let's try. This is one of the situations where it's better just to work through it, and we'll understand way better that way. So let's run through some basic commands together and edit the file permissions. So I'm back in my home, and I want to create a directory. Um, let's call it data. So one important thing to note, Linux is case sensitive. So this is an all capital data folder. If I try to cd into something like data, it's going to say it doesn't exist because there is no lowercase d data folder. Now that we're here, let's go into data folder and let's create two files. So one, I'm just going to call file1.txt, and the second I'll call file2.txt. Another very useful thing in Linux is if you want to reuse previous commands, like I know I just did touch file1.txt, and if I want to create a new file2, I'd only have to change this one character right here. I don't want to type, I'm being lazy, so I don't want to type it all out again. If I use the up arrow, I can go back through all of my previous commands and use whichever one I want. So I went back one space. Now I have my touch file1.txt again, but I can edit it before I hit enter. So I'm going to change it, file2. So now I have a file1.txt and a file2.txt. And if I do ls to show all of the information about those two files. Um, we can see these are the executable permissions. So the first three are for user, or these three. The first three are for you, the user. So we have read and write permissions here. Everyone in the group, in my group, also has read write permissions, but everyone else would only have read permissions. They can't actually modify either of these files. But I want to change this. Let's say I want to also give myself the permission to execute one of these files. So we would do chmod, chmod. So whatever the specific group you want to use, so either U or G or O. So in this case, it's going to be U for user. Uh, a plus is for adding permissions. A minus is for removing permissions. In this case, I want to add executable permissions. So I'll do plus. Um, and then I want to give myself, I want to have read access, want to have write access, and I want to also have executable access. So RWX. And then what am I even pointing to? I want to do this to file one. So I have to put in file one's name. Click enter. And now if I do ls-l, you can see I now have executable permission. Now, let's say I want to remove. Yes, you could also do like if I just did the X, it would give yourself executable access as a user, Mohammed. Um, so that was the symbolic way of doing this. There's also the octal or numeric format. So instead of having to do user by user or user group other and give RWX for each one of them, uh, these are this is essentially shorthand for that these numbers. So if I wanted to give my user every permission, I could put the number 7. And if I want no one else to have permissions, I could give 0. Um, again, easier if it's just done together. Let's say I want to change the permissions of file 2 to read and execute for everyone and write for the user. So that'll be this chmod 755 because it'll give user read, write, and execute, and it'll give everyone else just read and execute. They can't modify it. So let's try this. So chmod 755. So this 7 is for user, this 5 is for group, and this next 5 is for everyone else. File 2 text. Now if we do ls-l, you can see we have execute permissions, and everyone else has only read and execute permissions. And then, as I stated before, if I want to remove permissions, instead of doing plus, it's just going to be a minus. So if I wanted to remove the executable permissions from all the other users here, if I think this was a mistake, I do O minus X for executable, and then file2.txt. And the executable permission is gone. So now we're going to get into the shell script exercise. A script is essentially something that lets multiple commands happen at once. Like, I've been typing all of these line by line, but what if I had some bigger thing that I wanted to do multiple times, and I don't want to type the same 5 lines over and over and over again? That's where a script comes in. So we've already created an example script for you, which you can copy and run yourself. So we're going to first go back to the home directory and then copy it using this command. And then let's do that first, and then I'll explain the rest. So we're in this data directory. I want to go back home, so /cd home. Back in home, let's just make sure. And let's copy that folder, or that script. So it'll be cp scratch training fall 2025 primers my script.sh. And now if I just click this, there's an issue because I didn't actually tell it any place that I want this to appear. I just said like, hey, I want to copy this, but I didn't give it a location. That is where this last period comes in. That essentially is stating, I want to create this, or I want to copy this at the location I'm currently at, which is going to be my home folder. So once you do that, we want to look at the shell script, make it executable to yourself using that chmod command from before, and then run it. I will also be doing this, but first I want to let you guys give it a go yourself. So I'm actually going to pause right here. I'm going to leave it on the screen, and we're going to take 2-3 minutes for you guys to attempt this here, for you guys to try this before we do it together. Yeah, as Josh stated, if you wanted to check what group you're a part of, you just type in groups. You should only really be in your own group at the start. You're automatically in that, and then if you were in others, like I'm in HPRC, it'd show you that as well. And then leave it on the slide for a bit. Yeah, Mohammed, that's a bit more advanced, but yes, if you had created like an SH you'd have to do the DOS to Unix command because this is not a Windows server, it's a Linux one. So you'd have to use that DOS to Unix. Correct. Mark, yeah. So essentially the formatting is just a bit different when it comes to the SH files and a couple other files. When compared from Windows to Linux. So DOS to Unix just fixes all that, like you said, the line endings and stuff. Mohammed, I actually do not know. If any of the other staff know, please shout it out.
I do not know for sure when Windows would put in those extra characters while editing. It's possible you may not, but to be safe, you may want to run it every time you move it over.
Yeah, it is annoying, but it's one of those better safe than sorry things.
If you edit it in Linux further, then you don't need it. Windows might be though, and I don't know exactly when.
Mm-hmm.
It is tedious, yes. Windows and Linux don't jive super well.
Yeah.
Just I think typically if you copy something from a Windows machine to a Linux machine, it will have those characters in text files.
Yeah.
Because if you create something on Notepad or whatever Windows has, it just adds those extra characters And when you copy it, it will be copied like pretty much verbatim as text, and that's how you end up with them.
Okay. And now I'm gonna also work through this shell script exercise with you guys. So, um, you know, good to make sure I actually know what I'm executing before I execute it. So we're gonna actually look into what this myscript .sh is. Oh, did I not copy? Oh, oops. I forgot to actually import it. There we go. Now I have it. So now if I do nano, it shows me what the .sh file is. So a bit of information about this. So all bash scripts have to start with this command at the start. It essentially lets the computer know that it is a bash script before it moves forward. Normally, the pound signs mean comments. So since I put this HPRC shell script exercise within this pound, it means the computer is just going to ignore it because it knows it's a comment. The only exception is this original bash script command. Oops. Yeah, then this is a variable, so it's essentially, it just stores whatever information I have put here for later in this variable. I can call it later using a $sign and the name of the variable. So here, $my variable actually means people. The right arrow is directing the output of this into whatever file name it provides. So it's essentially putting howdy people into output.text. And then we've seen these commands before: make a directory, move the information into that directory, go into it, print it. So I don't want to edit anything here, so I'm just gonna Control X out. And, before anything else, right now I can't execute it because I don't have executable permission. So chmod 755 mango script. Now I do have executable permissions denoted by the X. Run it. And I already have the directory that I created previously, but it does print out the information that I wanted it to, howdy people. So when you're completely finished with whatever you want to do, you want to exit your terminal, simple as typing in the word exit. So exit, and then it just logs you out immediately. And since I no longer have this in front, that means I've logged out, and anything I type here is completely pointless. It's not going to do anything. So if I type in like ls or cd home, I'm not logged in anymore, so it's not doing anything. I'm just screaming into the void, essentially. And then to completely close out of the Grace portal, just gotta close the window. And that is essentially the entirety of this primer. Thank you. Any questions?
You got a couple in chat.
Oh, yes. Remove files. I'm just going to open the thing again. It's as simple as typing in rm and then the name of the file. And I actually don't. I've always used quit logout. I mean, I'll try it right now. Uh, when you create the file, the default permissions are you can write and read it, and I think people in your group can and others can also uh, read it, but not write and execute it. Mark. Yeah, and an important thing, as Josh noted, if you do RM, it is permanent. There is no like recycled, like it doesn't go anywhere that you can later retrieve it. It is gone and it's just permanently gone. So be very careful. So if I do RM my script.sh, if I hadn't, if this wasn't saved anywhere else, uh, I have no way of retrieving it again. So I would have just lost that data. But yeah, sorry. Okay, so the default permissions are you can read and write. The people in your group can also read and write, and all other users can just read. Vincenzo, no, like it's once you let's do log out this time. It's you're gonna have to close the portal and then open it again from the shell access. Okay, I'll answer both questions one after. So the Scratch folder is essentially uh if this loads. It's a much bigger directory. Like everyone has their own Scratch folder that is unique to them. And that's usually where a large portion of your research or work is going to be done. Just because if this would load, I would have shown you, or there we go. My home directory only has a limit of 10 gigabytes and 10,000 files, where my Scratch, it just default starts with a 1 terabyte limit, which can be increased if needed. And more about Linux. Honestly, I would just, Mohammed, I would look it up on YouTube, like just intro to Linux or like Linux commands. That's where I personally learned most of this stuff. And yeah, usually maybe the top 2 or 3 searches or the YouTubers that come up are pretty good. And also, if you want to give feedback on the class, there is the survey link. Exit and logout, pretty similar. Like Josh stated, usually it's just better to do exit because in certain situations, there'll be a bit of an issue if you use logout, if you launch additional shells during your session. I don't understand quite what you mean about how to close. Like, what do you mean by that exactly? Like, if I nano into a file, how I close it? Do you mean? Oh, okay, yes. So let's say we've nanoed into here. These are all the different options. And the up arrow just denotes control. So if I wanted to just exit normally, it'd be Control X and it would close. That's immediately happened because I hadn't edited anything in here, so there was nothing to like save. If I type some stuff and now I want to exit, if I do Control X, it would ask me if I wanted to save this or not. And as it says, if you type in Y, it'll save this, the additional information that I added. If I press no, it wouldn't. And then C or Control C would be to cancel and remain in this window. Does that answer your question? Cool. Yeah, thank you for your time. Yeah. See you. Have a good one.